Step into the time machine. Let's travel through the past. Mr. Gold's gonna take you on a history blast. From ancient civilizations to the world wars. Get ready. Hold tight.
Hey guys, in this video I want to give a summary of the origins of the Cold War, starting with the very first events and then ending around the year 1949. So the Cold War, as a definition, is a period of intense geopolitical tension between the Soviet Union and the United States. This is characterized primarily by the ideological rivalry of capitalism versus communism, but it also includes smaller proxy wars and military conflicts directly between capitalist and communist powers, such as U.S. versus Korea, U.S. versus Vietnam, U.S. versus Cuba. And then also it's categorized by a space race and a nuclear arms competition. So during this Cold War period, you'll see a race into outer space and the moon taking place, as well as a race to see who can bolster their nuclear arsenal and have the best missiles. So it's a very complex situation. Cold and hot wars happened during this period, and then also the space race and the nuclear race. Many elements of the Cold War still exist today, such as the proxy wars and racing for technological superiority. And there's still a hint of nuclear warfare being threatened as well. So even though the historical period of the Cold War is over, we're still carrying those elements with us today. The beginning of the Cold War really starts with the division of Germany. So if you see in the map in the bottom right, Germany, after they lost World War II, was divided into 4 sections: the British section, the French section, the US section, and the USSR section. And eventually Berlin, it starts out, Berlin is broken into 4 sections too. Each of these countries gets a piece of Berlin, but eventually it breaks into 2 major sections: East and West Berlin, and then East and West Germany. East Berlin is communist controlled by the USSR, and West Berlin is controlled by the capitalists. Since Berlin is in the middle of the Russian-Soviet section of Germany, Russia doesn't like that West Berlin is becoming capitalist, and they're using their own currency, they're having their own capitalist economy. And so Russia blockades West Germany. They tell West Germany, or they tell the Western powers that they can't access West Berlin anymore via train or ground, and they blockade it. The U.S. and Great Britain don't want to obey Russia's blockade, so they airlift supplies into West Germany and West Berlin for 11 months, even though Russia says don't do that. They said, we control Berlin. We don't want them having their own currency, their own economy. But the U.S. and Great Britain break the blockade by airlifting supplies for 11 months. And the USSR gets upset by this. They eventually give up the blockade, and the U.S. and Great Britain view this as a win for capitalism. But there's going to be lasting differences. So here's a list of the differences between West and East Germany. And Truman initiates the Truman Doctrine, which their primary purpose of this is that Truman declares the U.S. would provide political, military, and economic assistance to all democratic nations under threat from external or internal communist authoritarian forces. So the doctrine effectively makes any country who's threatened by communism a friend of the United States. Any country that wants to stand up to communism is a friend of Truman. And it initially focuses on Greece and Turkey because these were the 2 countries at the time that were under threat. but later it expands to any country that's facing a communist threat. And then the second major political move by the United States after the Truman Doctrine is the European Recovery Act, also known as the Marshall Plan, enacted in 1948 to aid Western European economies and help them recover from World War II. The only caveat is if you're needing help to recover from World War II, you have to resist communism in order to get the money. So this gives $12 billion back then. Today's money, it's $128 billion in economic assistance to rebuild Europe. It was used for like infrastructure, fixing the destruction of World War II, etc. Here's the interesting fact, though. So at first it seems good, like, oh yeah, they're just getting aid. But later on, I want to show you guys this juxtaposition between NATO countries and Marshall Plan countries. So the Marshall Plan countries that received aid from the United States are Austria, Belgium, Denmark, France, Germany, Greece, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, Sweden, Switzerland, and United Kingdom. And now look at the list on the right, the countries who are in NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Association. Belgium, Denmark, France, Iceland, Italy, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Norway, Portugal, United Kingdom, Germany, Greece, and Turkey. So the same countries that receive the aid from the U.S. are the same countries that are going to join the United States' alliance. And it's sort of like, I guess you could compare it to a popular group in school versus an unpopular group. Like the kids are all kind of breaking into sides now, and it seems like everybody's on one side except for Russia. So everyone's in the cool kid table except for Russia. Everyone that's friends with the US, they get money, they get new infrastructure, they get this extra assistance rebuilding from the war, but Russia doesn't. Russia fought in the war just like everyone else, but because they're communist, the US is not going to give them any money. So they're going to start feeling left out of this situation, and that's going to rear its head later. But for now, I want you guys to just see these are the early causes of the Cold War, and later on it's going to spill into a hot war, and that's going to be the topic of the next video. So hopefully this was helpful to show how the Cold War started and what the Cold War actually is. And if you guys have any questions, you can reach out. But thank you and have a great day.
Step into the time machine. Let's travel through the past. Mr. Gold's gonna take you on a history blast.